Hey, I'm Scott Schubert, and welcome back to this video where in this video I'm going to address a specific question that came in from Brian Gosper, who I know from the past, and some good questions here. And the best way to answer this, there's no way I could answer this by putting a typed in reply on YouTube or any other messaging kind of a thing. So Brian is saying, here's an example of where I get caught up sometimes. This is the Canadian yen on the 6-hour chart. The labels I have on it, I did about 24 hours ago when the first green candle up appeared where I have the wave 4 label showing. But since then, the up move looks more impulsive and out of proportion to be part of the upside correction to the down move. I understand what you mean by that, and you know, the pictures have to correspond. Unfortunately, I'm able to picture that in my mind. That's why when people are really into math and numbers and stuff like that, as soon as they say math, numbers and stuff like that, it just shuts off the picture, so I can't see what I'm even imagining there. So I suppose on a higher time frame it could still be a correction, but again, it's starting to look out of proportion. It doesn't look like it's over yet. What do you think? I didn't take the trade either way because I wasn't sure, but I'm glad I didn't, because my first inclination was to go short. Or could the uptrend be a wave A of a larger correction and I missed the end of a trend? Well, and here's the picture he provides with that, and I'm assuming that you understand that your labels were kind of put in the wrong place for something that you're counting this going down, because you know the first wave down you would count at the end of this wave, and then the first wave up, you know, like a 2, you count at the top of this wave. And I think you understood that, but yeah, you were thinking this was like a 4, and I think you're getting the idea, maybe a lot more than what I realized, that it's not the counting that you want to focus on, but to just see what does this particular pattern's shape look like. And I would say, you know, at this time when you're looking at it, that did look like the shape of a wave 4. And of course, if you were counting it, a lot of people would make the mistake of counting this center wave as a wave 3, and there's just no way that that's a wave 3, because it's just totally not shaped like a wave 3. And so again, I don't want to put people off, because what I'm trying to emphasize in all my videos is that counting it is not what's important. But there's some counting involved. I mean, you know, like I say, you don't go up to a human and count their fingers and say, hey, that is a human, they have 5 fingers, because you already know they're a human. You can see that. It's same thing with trading. You still see that there's 5 fingers here, whether or not you're counting them. And if like I had only 3 fingers, or if I had 8 fingers or something, you would go, wow, something's weird, look at that, and you would notice that. So we neither want to obsess with counting, nor do we want to completely ignore it, either one. Okay, so the first thing is, and I don't want to be putting this off like an excuse, but for one thing, the choice of pairs that you look at is part of how you trade. And I'm not looking at the Canadian yen, and if I was looking at the Canadian yen, I would be looking at it as a yen pair, and I would be trading it as a yen pair, probably not trading it as a Canadian pair. And people in our group probably would laugh, because they know that I don't like Canadian pairs, and that's a story for another video. But I almost would never trade a Canadian pair based on expecting the Canadian currency to turn. But if you're trading the Canadian yen, you should be looking at it as a yen pair. And well, there may be some other yen pairs that would be a better choice, but in a way, the Canadian yen is not that bad because of the fact that the Canadian is a more neutral kind of currency. It tends to help the Canadian yen to reveal more clearly the patterns of the yen, because then all the other yen pairs are going to have a little bit more distortion and influence from the other currencies. And so let's just get into that, because just seeing this question brought up a whole bunch of different issues that I wanted to cover, and one of them was that I probably wouldn't be trading the Canadian yen, and if I was trading the Canadian yen, it would be based on I'm looking to identify the next turn on the yen. And identifying the turns on the yen is a little bit difficult for me because the yen does not make turns based on yen news. It makes turns based on an overall prevailing change in sentiment from risk on to risk off. So here's the Canadian yen on the 6 hour, and some time has gone by since you first posted your chart, and this has grown even bigger. Now here's that really short wave that you're right to not count this as a wave 3. The important thing is we're not counting that. So what we want to do here, if we were going to trade the Canadian yen, is go out to a longer time frame and confirm that's a downtrend, and see if we can confirm that has the downtrend turned, and now it's going up, not a correction, but maybe 1, 2, 3 of a bigger move up. And I realize all the weak-minded people and the people with no character, the lazy people, they're all thinking, well, this is too much. Just give me the trade. If you start actually explaining how something works, then they immediately just get bored and want to just change it. That's too much. But for people who have some degree of success consciousness and some degree of intelligence that could actually follow through with doing something in your life, then you would love to have a complete explanation of how this works. So if I go out to the weekly, I can't really see a whole lot of really clear patterns on here. I can see this actually has the shape of a wave 3, but there's no wave 4 that is corresponding to that. This has the shape of a correction, definitely, and then this should be a continuation of a downtrend. And so it looks like we still have a downtrend on the weekly, and according to this shape, I wouldn't be able to see an end of the downtrend. A shape of a trend would look like this. We don't have that. A shape of this trend would look like that. CCI is still pointing down. So on the weekly, it looks like it's still going down. While I'm doing that, what I'm doing here is, in order to trade the Canadian yen, first thing I would do is I would go to all the same time frames on all the other yen pairs. Now here's the US dollar yen. It looks almost the same as the Canadian yen, and often they do. Here it is on the Kiwi yen, looks like 1, 2, 3. And that little move up doesn't even look like the end of that trend that is that 3. So it looks like it's still going to go down. Now I'm going to go to the euro yen. This will only take a minute if your data is loading quickly, but in just a minute you can look at every one of these and see the shape that we have there. Okay, I got an idea what we have on each of these. The Swiss yen, back to the Canadian yen. Then from the weekly, going to the daily. I see that shape. So I'm assuming, even though there's no clarity to this pattern, that it's still going to go down. Going to go to the US dollar yen, to the daily. I'm assuming that the US dollar yen is also going to go down because this is a corrective move impulsive corrective. Kiwi yen, I'm going from the weekly to the daily, and watch what happens. Still a corrective move up, so I'm assuming that's still going to go down. Pound yen, weekly to the daily. That's definitely a corrective, looks like a wave 4, going to go down again. And on the euro yen, from the weekly to the daily. I'm assuming this is a little bit steeper, but I'm assuming this is going to go down again also. Swiss yen, weekly to the daily. That's a correction, going to go down again. Canadian yen, there we are back again. Aussie yen, weekly, daily. These all look like they're going to go down again. Now from the daily on the Canadian yen to the 4-hour. I don't know what kind of correction this is going to end up being, but we could just assume if we had an end of a correction, we could go short. US dollar yen, daily to the 4-hour. That's a correction. If we had an end of a correction, we would have a short. So we didn't have a short at the time that you were first thinking about it, but later we probably will have a short. So there we are. It's a correction, but it's kind of steep. And the problem with this project that we're doing right here is that this has to do with identifying a turn on the yen. And I gotta tell you, the yen has been a major moving pair a lot of the time recently, but I'm not catching those turning points on the yen because I don't know what's causing it. There's something that changes the prevailing sentiment from risk on to risk off, or vice versa. And the time of day when it happens is not the normal time of day, and or I'm not putting my focus on following closely with the yen pairs to identify. I think maybe that might be part of it, because I'm just kind of putting that on the back burner and putting the US dollar, the euro, the pound, and not even so much the pound anymore, but the Aussie and the Kiwi, they're right up front for me. I got my eyes right on them. So if a turn happens on the Aussie or the Kiwi, or on gold and silver, I'm going to see that now. Just as an example, if remember in some of my previous videos, I mentioned that the difficulties people have are because they haven't really been shown the additional steps to gain clarity. Now, just now, if you were paying attention, you saw one of the additional steps in operation. And that was to go to all the time frames and compare all the correlated pairs, in this case, all yen pairs. And I did it kind of quickly, but if I were going to really give you a thorough explanation of the subtleties of the shape on each time frame as we did that, you would gain a tremendous amount of insight and clarity that if you had that every day and repeated it over and over again, then you would gain a skill that would enable you to use that to trade. And would that make sense, that learning how to trade would be all about gaining a skill as I'm describing it and showing it to you here? That's what it would be about? Because a lot of people go, oh, if that's what it's about, I don't want any part of it. But some of you who have a little bit more of a normal self-esteem, like if you don't believe that you're capable of learning to read the charts, then you're going to want some other thing, like a black box software. Just give me something. Just give me something that will do it so I don't have to do it. But if you have some degree of confidence in yourself that, yeah, you can do it. It's not that difficult. The only difficulty would just be to have a normal amount of patience and discipline. And most people right there, they don't have that. So they're just that cuts everybody off right there. So back to what you're doing. Go back to what you're doing before with your binary option thing and all that crap. Go back to what you're doing before, because this probably is not for you. But to the people who have that kind of a internal reaction of like, no, I don't want anything to do with having a skill. So for those of you who do want to develop a skill, something that you possess, it's your skill and you own it. Well, this is the most liberating thing you could possibly imagine, isn't it? And extremely exciting. I had some people who said, this is boring, or you're boring, or something like that. And what's actually happening is being able to consistently win in trading to you is boring. And why is that? It's because something is wrong with you in that case, not because there's something wrong with me or something like that. It's because if consistently winning in trading is boring to you, then there's a problem with you. And also, one of the things that happens, maybe I'll cover this in another video, but yes, we're going to be repeating ourselves because that's how you win in trading. Is I'm showing you what works, and if I showed it to you again, I would repeat myself and show you again how it works. And that's what's the most amazing thing that makes it so excellent, is because I'm repeating myself, and that is really why you should be totally excited, is because I'm repeating myself. If I wasn't repeating myself, then you should not be too excited, because it's going to be a different thing each time, and you wouldn't be able to do it, and there wouldn't be anything you could base your winning on. So the fact that you do have something to base your winning on, that's going to make you really, really excited. Fortunately, we have the ability to change our psychology and our subconscious mind, and that's how we can win in trading. That's how we can become successful in any kind of business. So I hope that this gives a little bit of insight into this question. Great question. Keep them coming. And if you ask more questions, then we can go even further into this, and you might even gain even more insight into how to read these charts, because it is a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people are picking up on it and enjoying that as well. See you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.